Growing up I was home alone a lot, being the youngest of 3 siblings, and to a single mother, respectively. She was away at work a lot, and at the time of this story my oldest brother was also away working, and my other away at college. I was maybe 15 or 16, I can't remember exactly, and it was late at night during the weekend, so, being a teenage boy, I stayed up playing video games. I have a pet dog who is pretty old. At this time he was just about 8, and thus would only really lay around all day, except to go for walks. Now I have to describe the floor plan of the house as best as I can for the story, so I'm sorry if I confuse. As soon as you walk through the front door you are looking into the kitchen. If you look directly left you see the entire living room, 2 couches, a small TV and a really old circular coffee table with a big glass centerpiece. Looking towards the kitchen, just to the right there are stairs going to the 2nd floor, and again after just entering into the kitchen, if you look to the right, there are 2 steps going to the downstairs. I was downstairs. My dog would occasionally end up sleeping under the coffee table, and would sometimes wake up too quickly and hit his head off the bottom edge, causing the table to move a little with a loud bang as the glass was loose, and would also move. I was downstairs playing Battlefield late one night, and was minding my own business. Last I knew my dog was upstairs sleeping in the living room. I didn't think to check on him because, well, he's old, and doesn't cause any trouble like going into the garbage, or onto the furniture, as he has arthritis and it's too much of a struggle for him. As I'm playing I hear a loud bang, as if my dog had suddenly awoken, and hit his head on the bottom of the table. Naturally I pause the game, and follow it with "Oh, baby boy, are you okay?" Because despite being almost 8, he's still the family puppy. However, I also went to stand up while speaking, and pulling my legs closer to the couch they hit a soft object. Looking down, it's my dog. So what the rubber ducks did I just hear hit the table? It's a pretty distinctive bang, hear it enough, and you'll know it. Standing up to go check the coffee table, to make sure the glass didn't shatter from simply being old, or by some other means, I make sure to avoid stepping on my dog, who was sleeping by my feet. As I stand up I hear somebody walking up the stairs to the 2nd floor, reach the top, turn around and begin to descend once again. The steps get roughly halfway down the stairs, and then altogether stop. They don't go back up, they don't finish going down, they just stop. So now I'm terrified, and finally manage to go check the rest of the house. When I ascend the 2-step I see the table is fine, however neither of the couches in the living room has their pillows on them. There's roughly 4 to 7 on both couches. Rather, I take a few more steps forward and see the pillows strewn about by the front door, some against it, some in front of it, and others near it. After checking the rest of the house rather intensively, and finding nobody there, I can find no logical explanation as to why, or how the bang had occurred, or how the pillows ended up from the couches to the door. The front door was locked, and any other way into the house I would have noticed, as both the garage door and sliding door were within sight from where I had been playing. When I was a kid I used to live in a rolled house in my hometown in Wisconsin. I lived there for a quarter of my childhood, and it was a pretty small town, so everyone knew everyone practically. Anyways, my childhood home was built about 200 years ago, and had some history to it. Before we moved into the house we were informed that the guy before us had committed suicide in the house in one of the upstairs bedrooms. See, the house is a two-story craftsman style type of house. The 1st floor has the kitchen, dining room, living room, the master bedroom, and the only working bathroom in the house. The 2nd floor has 2 other guest rooms, 2 small storage rooms, and a unfinished bathroom. The stairs are located near the bathroom downstairs and the garage door. The stairs lead directly up to the 1st bedroom and the hallway that leads to the next room, with a small 2nd hallway that is attached to the storage rooms. But let's get back to the actual story. As I said earlier, the house we moved into's previous owner had committed suicide in one of the bedrooms. The said bedroom, later on in the future, would become me and my 2 older sisters' bedroom. The man had shot himself in the room shortly after the death of his grandmother, who we found out later on, also passed away in the house. Even after we moved into the house there was still things of his left in the house, clothes, knickknacks, family heirlooms, personal documents, etc. Even the bloody mattress he shot himself on. which, my ever so frugal mother decided that if we just wash it the bed would be good as new and that us just can use it in our room. Needless to say, me and my sisters weren't too keen on sleeping in there or on that bed, but we had no choice in the matter. After living in the house for a month or two we had forgotten about the whole thing and just continued on living our lives normally. That was the case until a few days after the second month ended. You see, me and my sister's room was very girly when we were younger, having pastel pink walls, white artisan furniture, dolls, a Disney princess TV, and other girly posters and such. We had a rectangular shaped room, with the wall facing the wall near the door, having one window stationed to the right of left top corner of the room. The wall to the left of that wall had two windows stationed equally apart from each other, and the opposite wall to it held a deep, about 2-meter length closet with two storage cabinets above it. To the right of the closet, next to the bedroom door, was a tall built-in cabinet with 5 to 6 built-in wooden shelves. The shelves were filled with knickknacks, RTV, pictures, stuffed animals, and worst of all, 3 American Girl dolls. Our bed was queen-sized, stationed on left side of the 2-windowed wall, and the headboard matched our dressers, which were stationed at one on the short end of the room, and one on the other short side, with a small nightstand next to the right of the bed. Our brother's room was next door to ours, and another brother took one of the small storage rooms down the other hall. Just to clarify, I have 2 older sisters and 4 older brothers. 3 of my brothers shared a room together, while the other was in the back room. So getting to the real creepy shiz. Like I said earlier, we had built-in shelves, the middle shelf holding our TV and the one above it housing the 3 American Girl dolls. This is where the real creepy shiz starts. After moving in, me and my sisters/brothers started to hear things in the night. Footsteps, knocking, rustling, even voices sometimes. It freaked us the rubber ducks out, but we tried to brush it off as nothing. That was our first mistake. After a while these things started to get more prominent. Doors opening and closing, fans turning on and off, things being moved, etc. It just made us more spooked, but we tried to keep it out of our minds in order to sleep at night. That's when the dolls started to move. I hate those American Girl dolls staring at me while I sleep. So before I go to sleep, I turn the dolls face down, or put them in a drawer or a cabinet. My sisters are equally freaked out by the dolls and let me do as I pleased. One night, after putting away the dolls in the cabinet above the closet, I turned down the volume of the TV. Since I can't sleep at night without some sort of light or noise in the background, turned on a night light, shut the door, and climbed into bed. My sister's already fast asleep. I went to sleep about 8:30 p.m, but I had woken up somewhere around 12 a.m. I heard some light footsteps out in the hallway, outside our bedroom door. I broke up into a cold sweat and my hands clammed up as I tightened my hands around my comforter and pulled it over my head. The footsteps seemed to be getting heavier, closer than before. I peeked out of a small opening in my cocoon and looked over at my sisters, who were still sleeping soundly. The footsteps got louder until they were right outside our door. Then they stopped all of a sudden. I let 5 minutes go by, and with no more footsteps, I pulled the blanket off of me and turned up the volume of the TV a little, slowly forgetting the whole thing and falling back asleep. What I would wake up to would make sure I never slept peacefully ever again. I woke up around 8 a.m. to the smell of breakfast. I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes, looking around to see that my sisters were already up and probably downstairs. I flung myself out of bed and shrugged out of my pajamas and started to pull off some day clothes. That's when I noticed it, or more like them. On the dresser a few feet away from my bed was the American Girl dolls, all 3 of them, upright and pristine, staring at me with cold glass eyes. I instantly remembered last night and was freaked the rubber ducks out, but soon that fear turned into anger. I stormed out the room and down the hall. I poked my head into my brother's room, finding nothing. I heard laughing and chatter from downstairs, so I stomped my way down there, furious. I thought my brothers were rubber ducking around with me last night and trying to scare me or something, and maybe they had put the dolls back out before I woke up that morning. I was rubber ducking furious and wasn't in the mood for this shiz. As I stormed into the dining room I started to female dog them all out. yelling at them, accusing them of setting up the dolls, and stomping around last night, trying to scare me, and even though they knew I hated those dolls, I wasn't prepared for the answers I received. All of my brothers vehemently denied doing anything, saying they were asleep the whole night, and that they didn't even know where the dolls were stashed away half the time, and that one of them heard the footsteps too. I was freaking the fuck out, and wasn't gonna stand for this bullshit, or pranks any of them were pulling. I asked my sisters if they heard anything last night, or if they put the dolls back. They both heard nothing, and denied placing the dolls back. I was scared shitless, and outright told my mom and dad that I was sleeping with them tonight. They said okay, thinking I was just paranoid or something. And the day continued as normal, and I fell asleep without cause. I thought maybe I was being over paranoid, and the next night, slept in my room again. Then it started again, but with knocking, more footsteps and rustling. The dolls would always find a upright position facing the bed or me in some way each morning, and no one owned up to it. After a month or more of this, I got sick of it, and tossed the dolls into the basement. The night I did that was worse than any one before. I went to sleep like usual, but woke up once again. This time to the door opening slowly. Like any normal person, I started to flip out, and shook my sisters awake. They were pissed at me to say the least, but I quickly explained what was going on, and pointed at the now open door. Then all three of us started to freak out, and huddled together and just stared at the doorway. We could hear some light noises, but couldn't tell what they were exactly. We turned on the TV, just to give us some closure, and turned up the volume, to block out the noises. We didn't sleep the rest of the night and only passed out after 4 AM. I put the dolls back into the room and door never opened like that again, but the footsteps resumed. I don't know if people believe me or not, but this scared me shitless as a kid. And my dad, him and my mom are now divorced, still lives in that house, and sometimes I still hear things and see shadows. I don't like sleeping alone in that house, or being upstairs alone anymore.